Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to get started as people are kind of coming in here. My name is Holly Burnt, and I'm with Aesthetic Professionals. We are an education center, a lab, and a distribution center. And we've been putting on these educational webinars for about the past week now, and we do plan on continuing them. So be looking for an email when we're done with this, probably later this afternoon, with a link to this webinar and also have a link to what we have coming up. But this is kind of an idea of what we have in the next few days, but that it's going to probably have some more added to it as well. Today, we're really grateful to have Adrienne here from 3D Systems, and she's going to be going through the processing of digital dentures. And I'm really excited. We were kind of going through it yesterday, and it's really cool that we can actually watch her go through that. Hi there, Adrienne. And then earlier today, we had Mo Whitlock with Amund Gearbach, and he went over designing digital dentures using Ceramil Mind. And I'm going to send a link to that if you would like. So just let me know, reply back to the email. Let me know if you want that. That was a really great webinar as well. And also, Adrienne is able to offer CEs for this, so that's awesome. So if you need some of those, just let me know in the email as well. Really quick too, see if I can get this. This is me and Jesse Zamaripa. We work with Aesthetic Professionals, as I mentioned, and if you have any questions on anything, you just feel free to call or text us or email us anytime. Even if you have subjects that you'd like us to maybe bring up webinars on, we're happy to look into that for you. And this isn't a sales seminar or webinar, but we did want to let you know that we have been kind of focusing on promoting our software right now, because it is a great time to be going through, kind of reevaluating your businesses and maybe learning some new things. So we wanted to just give you some promotions on that. We also have some great, let me see here, financing promotions right now for 0% options, and then payment deferral options. So if you have any questions on that, please let me know. And so right now I'm going to hand it right over to Adrienne. And let me see. Hold on one second, Adrienne. There we go. And if you have any questions too, I'll be kind of watching the questions. If you have any questions, just put them in the question box and I'll try to get to them as we go through. There you go. Thanks, Adrienne.
Can you hear me okay, Holly?
I can't hear you. Let me see, maybe it's, oh, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
You're good. We're good.
Perfect. So everyone, thank you for joining me. I am Adrienne. If you don't know me, I'm a dental technician of 18 years, and I recently started with 3D Systems. I've been immersed in digital, trainer for dental offices and labs, and also managed the technology at a large lab here. And today I'm just going to show you what I have for what 3D Systems has as a digital workflow offering for dentures. So I'm going to go through and show you a little bit of a PowerPoint and get everything going. And I'm going to also do some live printing. I'm going to assemble the dentures, teach you how to polish them, and then go through a little bit more. So again, like Holly said, we do have CE credits for this course, and the rest of the courses I'll be doing for them as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my PowerPoint here. Okay, so Holly, can you see my PowerPoint?
Yes. Yep, we're good.
Perfect. Okay, so what we're going to do today is I'm going to go over some of the design parameters that we have dialed in for you, so you don't have to do any guessing on that. We're going to go over nesting, print process, and we're going to assemble the dentures, and then I'm going to give you a brief review of the full system. And also this will be available as a PDF as well for your reference, so you can take it back with you and use it when you're printing at home or at your office. Let's see. I'm new to the GoToMeeting, so excuse me. go to webinar. There we go. Okay, so we have plenty of printing options for you. Let's see. There's a slight lag, so it's actually not working the way it should. Let's go back. Okay, so regardless of what you're doing with your digital denture workflow, you can use the Nextdent materials for try-in. You can print the base and use carded teeth and use cold cure. You can do a monoblock with C&D and MFH, and you can also print both your teeth and your base, or you can mill your teeth and print your base. So you have lots of different options depending on what workflow you prefer to use. I'm going to try to go back into presentation mode here one more time. We've optimized in collaboration with 3Shape and with Exocad to make sure that you already have settings and you don't have to dial them in. So you can go to our website and download your 3Shape settings. You can also, anything later than Valletta has the Exocad settings in it. I'm going to show you how to find those settings in any of your builds. And if you have something earlier than that, you can also bring in those settings. You can talk to your reseller. I have a YouTube channel, and it shows you also how to bring in those settings to an older Exocad version. They're all validated by 3D Systems and by 3Shape and Exocad. We also have design parameters for you, so you can use any design software that you would like to use and just follow the guidelines. We also worked in collaboration with design services. So all you have to do is tell them you have a Nextdent printer or you're going to be using Nextdent material, and they will use those parameters for you. So on our website, you'll see that there is a DME download. So just go ahead, and if you're going to only do denture or print your denture and your teeth, you can download one at a time, or you can bring in the complete portfolio of materials. Now, if you have Exocad, you'll go to your material configuration and you'll click on it and you'll see Nextdent 5100. And if you choose that, when you go to click on your tooth and enter it, you'll see all of our material settings come up, and it'll be the same way with 3Shape. Now, the next thing that I want to cover with you is just a quick baseline of parameters. So you'll want to make sure that your uppers are at least 2 millimeters thick and your lowers are 2.5 millimeters thick. Now, if you're printing your teeth and your base, then you don't have to adhere to that minimum thickness. You can go down to 1.5 on your base. If you're only printing your base, though, you'll want to make sure that you keep it at 2 and 2.5. If you use a 300 micron glue space in 3Shape or in your tooth pocket, you'll enter it for 300 as well, 0.3. You'll have enough room to adhere the teeth to the base, and you'll use resin or your cold cure. I'm going to show you that process today. So this is what your traditional denture lab looks like, and I'm going to show you a couple of setups that you can do with the Nextdent printer, and you're going to see my setup today as well. So you can either forego the pedestal and put it on the counter, and if you see, you can put it on a regular table and you'll see that it's just a little bit above your head, so you can easily reach that build platform. Or you can use pedestals. So I'm going to show you all of this workflow today. This is the workflow for all of the materials. So when you start doing dentures or you start doing a different workflow or a different indication and using a different material, you don't have to buy any extra accessories. You always have the same accessories. And this is shown with the pedestal. The printer is. We have a mixer, and that mixes and gets everything, all the ceramic material mixed in. It gets the shading proper. So it is really important that you have that mixer. And you'll use an ultrasonic. I like to use 2 glass beakers, and you'll use 91% IPA or bioethanol, which I did not show here. And then the LC3D cure oven, which heats up, and it also has 2 different shades of blue light in it. So it'll help develop that color and heat to develop the material as well to get to the maximum strength. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and turn this off, and we're going to start doing some nesting. Are there any questions, Holly, about what I've talked about so far?
So far, we're so good. I'll let you know.
So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to launch your 3D Sprint, and you're going to choose the printer. So I have 2 printers here in my office, and I'm going to choose the one that's connected currently. and then you'll hit next, and you'll choose your material. So let's nest bases first. So you'll hit next, and you can see we have 5 shades here, and I'm going to choose opaque pink, which is a pretty popular shade here. And we're going to build in a 50 micron layer thickness. So we'll hit set. Okay, and the next thing that you're going to do, and Holly, I assume you can see my 3D sprint.
Yep, looks good.
Perfect. So we're going to go to File, and if you guys like hotkeys, you can actually use Control-I for this, and you can find a full list of the hotkeys and training for this, the whole 3D sprint and all the tips and tricks that you can do in this question mark here. So if you ever get stuck, go ahead and hit that question mark. We also did a webinar last night in the Netherlands, so it was really early our time, but we've put that onto our user group for your reference as well, and it shows you tips and tricks about 3D Sprint. Today I'm going to keep it basic, and I'm just going to show you the basic functionality of how to nest a denture and the denture teeth. So what we do is hit File, which could be Control-I for import. Okay, and I'm going to use these 2 denture bases, and you can do 4 to 6 as well. I'm just going to go with the 2 that we have designed. Okay, and as you can see, they both came in touching each other. The next step you're going to do is hit auto place. What I like to do is hit 0 on the distance between the objects. I allow my z-axis rotation, and I hit 0 for the distance from the edge of the build platform. Okay, so these are some tricks here to get as many parts as you can onto the build platform automatically. So that way you don't have to move them all around manually. Hit set. Okay. Now, when you're doing a denture lower or an orthodontic model, you want to put a bar between the distal area here. So this is a new feature that's coming out in the next 2 weeks. I also have instructions on the PowerPoint that I'm going to hand out to you guys upon request on how to create the bar before this new update is out. So this is the new one. We're going to hit create bar, and you'll click on one side and then the other side where you want it to be connected, and you'll hit apply. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to actually angle these bases to a 60 to 65 degree angle. So my hotkey here is Q, or you can hit transform. Okay, so I'm going to hold the Q button down, and that'll automatically bring you into the transform function. It'll go on 10 degree clicks, or you can hold your shift button down, and that'll take it off of that angled. So what you're going to do is go ahead and do a 65 degree angle, and you're going to do the same thing with your lower. Now, what this does is it prevents any kind of, if you have undercuts here, which you generally do, but all different shapes of ridges, there's something called cupping that happens when you're 3D printing. And to avoid that and to make sure that we have the most accuracy on both the top and the underside of the denture, if you go to a 65 degree angle, you're able to achieve the best possible accuracy and avoid any type of issues with the print process. So Q and shift, or you can use transform and you can go into the same functionality. Okay, and also a quick way to look at your views is you can hit view here, and you can just go down to the bottom and take a look at all of your views. Okay, and you can see that I came just about a little bit of outside of my borders here, so I'm just going to go ahead and move that. All right, and if you just pull the part down toward the build platform, it'll actually stop 3 millimeters above the build platform, which is ideal. The next thing you're going to do is hit Smart Support. Oh, and I pulled it right out of that build area again. And you can see that it's outside of the build area if you have a red border. Okay, so we'll just pull that right in. Okay. The next thing you're going to do is hit Smart Support. Now you can combine the supports if you have things that are overlapping, and I'm going to show you a couple of scenarios in a little while about when you would say yes and when you would say no. It's one of my favorite things about the software is because if you actually put parts over other parts, it will treat them as one part, and the supports will not go through each other. It'll actually avoid the other parts, which is really nice. But for this particular function, we don't need to because nothing's overlapping. So we'll hit no, and we'll hit create supports. And I really like this as well because it will actually support everything that is overhanging surface. So you don't have to check slices. All right. And if you see something that's just kind of hanging out by itself with no supports, it means it didn't need a support due to the overhanging surface, but I still would like to prevent any kind of sagging and increase stability. So I'm going to hit modify and hit add. Okay, and now I'll update my supports. Now I've noticed that on this printer, it would still have printed, and it's crazy because you really don't have to add supports for it to have a successful print. But I just want to increase the chances that everything is completely accurate. Now I always tell you, do not remove supports. That's one thing you don't want to do because you're not able to know mentally if you have removed a support from a critical area, and you don't want to have to go back and check every slice. So what I say is if you don't like where it put the supports, just change the angle slightly and then regenerate your supports. Okay, and that's it. So we're going to hit add to queue. And you can name it if you'd like. So if you have a different technician that's running the printer and you want them to be able to identify it by the case, you can go ahead and just type in that name and then hit add to queue. So now it slices it, and it's just a few seconds that it'll do that, and it sends it right over to the printer. So now let's go back and let's do our teeth. So let's nest our teeth. Every time that you're ever going to print, I would encourage you to save the scene here, and you can go back and delete them next week or something like that. But if something goes wrong or you need to reprint it or something and you don't want to go through and nest again, or you want to check how you nested it the first time, if you don't save this, then you won't be able to see that. So when you hit close, it'll ask you, do you want to save? And you'll just say yes, and it'll save it in the folder that you had just pulled your files from. So now let's go and let's do our denture teeth. So I'm going to hit printer and I'm going to change my material because I'd like it to print out of microfilled hybrid. So we'll choose that. And let's print out of N1, and I'll go over those shade conversions shortly. And we'll hit set. So again, we're going to hit File, Import, or Control I. We'll pull in our teeth, our upper and lower. And we'll hit Auto Place. And again, we're going to do a 0, allow Z access, and 0 again, and hit Set. Okay, so that looks good. We don't need a bar on these. If it was a mono block, then I would say yes on your lower, but it's not, so we'll be just fine. It actually doesn't have as much variable as the thicker bases do. Now we're going to hit Smart Support. And again, we don't need to combine these because we don't have anything that's overlapping. So we'll hit No and create our support structure. Now this is one where you really don't have to because I don't see that it has any like area that's hanging out by itself. So we're going to hit Add to Queue. This is a quality check that you're going to see coming up in your new update. It'll make sure that you have everything is a clean file and it does an automated fix for you if it needs to. So this is just a new feature that you'll see. Okay, and again, you can name it if you'd like, and we're going to hit Add to Queue, and it'll slice it and put it into the queue. Now I'm going to show you just a couple of things about the queue for your reference. You can see that if you click on something, you can move it to the top, you can delete it, you can move it down, and you can reorganize the jobs if need be from the technicians that are running the printer or for yourself. You can also add a job from a file. So if you have an older pixel file that you wanted to use or a sliced file, you can just bring it right in from here. Or you can, if you wanted to nest at home and send it to somebody on email because you wanted it nested a specific way, you can just back here in your print, hit print to file, and then you'll load it in your queue automatically. Also, if you weren't on the same network and you needed to use a jump drive, you could also plug in that file to your jump drive on the printer. Right when you insert it into the printer, it downloads that job. So now we're done with this. Let's go do some printing. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a moment and get set up over at the printing station. All right. Holly, any questions yet?
No, not so far. Maybe if you could just like adjust your mic a little bit. It's kind of comes in and out. It's not you. We can hear you, but there's just like a little bit of a crackle once in a while.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I am just looking for myself here. So I can see your view. I thought I was in good shape here with this. All right. Just a second, please.
I don't want to make you think about another thing while you're doing that, but one question that came up that I think will probably be towards the end is, and just, for you to think about, I guess some people are wondering about if there's another thing that they can use other than isopropyl because there's been a bit of a shortage on that
Sure.
and ethanol.
So you can actually, and besides ethanol as well? Is that shortage as well?
I'm not sure if that's a shortage, but they asked besides either of those, would that be your
Okay.
go-to?
You could use, there's this stuff called Resin Away. I've used that one. It actually is just a little bit greasy though, so you have to wash it with Dawn dish soap, the parts with Dawn dish soap after that. So I've used that. That's out of Australia, and it's just a little bit more expensive. It lasts longer though than normal alcohol or bioethanol, but bioethanol would definitely be my next go-to. And it's like campfire fuel. So.
Okay, that's good to know.
All right.
What about methyl hydrate? Somebody asked.
I will have to look at that. If you could just jot that down for me, I'll get the answer right after this. And I just need to, very good. Okay, sorry about that. I couldn't find the control. I just needed to be able to see my screen here. Okay, so here's what I have. I have a dual setup here with two printers, and I just wanted to give you a couple tips and tricks about how this printer.
Really quick.
Yes?
Sorry. Can you turn off your screen sharing? That way you're a bit bigger.
Yep. Okay,
There we go.
is that better? Okay, perfect. Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to show you guys is before you put in your resin tray, you want to make sure you preserve your resin tray and it lasts as long as possible. So what you're going to do is not add any extra stress. And sometimes things get a little bit messy when you're using resin, obviously, and printing. So a couple of tips for you is I like to have this little bottle of IPA or acetone, whatever you want to use to clean, and a wipe ball. And before I put in my resin tray, and it's okay if you want to leave your resin tray in all the time, that's fine. You'll just clean it out when you change a lot number or something on a biocompatible material. But other than that, you can just leave it in all the time, not a problem. I took mine out so I could show you how to clean your printer. It's a very low maintenance printer, but as you know, if you have a printer, things can get messy with resin. So what you're going to do is you can use that alcohol. The only thing you don't want to clean is this orange top with alcohol. You can just use some soap and water on a paper towel. But on this, you want to clean off this lip here, okay? So when you're changing out your resin, this lip is where the membrane sits. And if you put extra stress on that, you could pop that membrane. So you want to make sure that you don't have chunks of resin or anything like that around that lip. So just go ahead and wipe that down. And that's part of your maintenance. Every time I run my printer, I always use gloves because of the resin that gets everywhere if you're messy. And then after that, you're just going to put your resin tray in. And this is how easy it is to change material, which I really like, just being able to quickly swap things out. And I'm going to show you how I store my resin as well after we get this print started. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down, the tension arm. And I'm going to bring over my build platform, and it's magnetic, so it fits in just perfectly fine with one hand. So if you have your hands full, it makes it really convenient. And also, there's only one way to put it in. There's two little notches on either side of the build platform, and this is all magnetic. So there's not really room for error when it comes to that. Now you're going to close your printer, and whenever your resin's been sitting, or if you've just printed, you want to stir it. And we gave everybody a stir with their accessory kit. And we also have a nice little mixing and stirring chart on our website, so you can print that out. I printed it out and laminated it, and I've actually got it over by my cure oven, so I know how long to cure everything. So you'll want to stir for like 30 seconds, unless it's been sitting overnight, and then you'll do it for a minute. A lot of people will put a timer near their printer or something like that. If they're not the ones running the printer and you have a tech that's in a hurry, you want to make sure that they get that fully stirred. So you'll just stir. And when you stir, you don't want to jam or dig or anything like that. You just go nice sideways. Don't put a bunch of pressure or anything like that on there. It's very simple process to just go back and forth. Now, if you've been letting your MFH sit for a while, then you'll have ceramic that comes and it settles. So you want to make sure you stir that at least every couple days. And if you do see settling, just spend extra time stirring. Your resin tray is not ruined if that happens, okay? So let's close this up. And now the job that we just nested is going to be 23 minutes. And I'll show you a little bit later how to check your estimate, how much resin you need to have in, and all of that. So we're going to hit start job. When you scan your bottle, if you work in a large lab and you have a lot of bottles mixing in a different area, you can always print out your barcodes and hang them on the side of your printer, so you don't have to walk all the way to the roller and get the bottle back and forth and get resin and things like that. So scan the back barcode, okay? And when you grab it, just grab it and at an angle. You'll just go like this. And basically, just holding it like that, you can go all over the place. It's got a pretty wide eye, so it'll be able to find that. It'll ask you, is your print plate empty and clean? Is your resin tray full, and has your resin been stirred? And we've done all of that, so we're just going to check those 3 boxes and hit start job. Okay, and while we're doing that, I'm going to show you what I have. I have the denture bases in my other printer, and those are ready to go. I'm going to show you a couple of tricks about when you get your bases out or your teeth, you can actually set your tray up and it'll drain out that excess resin, and you can preserve some of that, recapture it. Now, when I work, I like to have like a pretty tidy workspace, but I don't want to spend a lot of time making it tidy. So every Friday night when I'm cleaning up, I put a bunch of layers of foil on my cookie sheet, and it's a dollar store cookie sheet. And every day, or maybe a couple times a day, it depends how much I'm printing, I just pull off that layer of foil, and it keeps it cleaned up without me having to spend extra time cleaning it. Okay? So now I'm going to take this over to the cleaning area, and also I'm going to show you how I organize some of my stuff. So if you're going to have an excess amount of resin sitting, maybe you made a big order because you wanted to have some extra, store them sideways. So let me show you here. We can get a good view of the bottom of my pedestal. You can see that I have all of my bottles stored horizontally. This will allow it to mix quicker. So if you have a lot of Crown and Bridge material that has ceramic, and you're a little bit concerned about it having settled because you've got bottles sitting for a month or something, then go ahead and just store it horizontal. It'll actually mix quicker. Now, another thing that I want you to see is, this may or may not be a good solution for you, but it worked pretty well for us, is when you've got to stir your microfilled hybrid and you have plenty of shades and things like that, it's nice to be able to put your garages in this. And I got this thing for $15 at Walmart, and I just label everything. And every day I can go through and I can stir my microfilled hybrid. I can easily find what I need, and every resin tray comes with a garage, so you can actually see the garage in there as well. Just a little trick that I do here. Okay, so I'm going to move this over to my cleaning station and show you how to clean parts quickly, and how I recommend putting the dentures together and curing them as well. And by the way, this is my home office. This isn't a lab setup, so I've got just a little improvising that I do here. But this is my setup here. So what I did, and this is how I had it at the lab as well, So what I did was I went and I got a Tupperware container, and all of these accessories came with your kit. So you have your paintbrush, you have your spatula, you have your punch tool, and then you have a Tupperware kit that's the perfect height. I got it from Walmart, and it holds the tray holder. Okay, that came in your accessory kit. And a lot of people are like, what is that for? It's perfect setup for being able to clean my tray. I recycle all of my alcohol, so I use it several times. So what you're gonna do here is, and also, by the way, I pre-printed the denture teeth, so that way you could see. If you're gonna leave something sit, the longer you leave it sit, the harder it is to clean. So because it begins to cure. So I always try to clean my microfilled hybrid as soon as possible. But if I don't, I cover it up with something that will block the light. So what you're gonna do here is on something that's fragile, I punch it out of the plate. On something that's not fragile, like a denture base or a model, I just break it right off the plate. Okay, so you see I just break that off, and then you're gonna rub off the supports, okay? And then if there's something that you missed, that's okay, but try to rub them off before you put them in the alcohol. Okay, so just pull off if these are models, if these are dentures, if these are bite stones, you can just pull them off, okay? The support structure is so small at the connection that you can just easily rub them off. Okay, and then I'm gonna put them into my dirty bath. I don't put my teeth into the same bath I put my base into. The longer that you, or the more that you put together something like bleach or in one, it might absorb the color from that other resin in that dirty bath. So I have two separate baths. One is for my microfilled hybrid, and one is for my denture bases or models or something like that. So the next thing that you're gonna do, and I'm not going to put you through the sound of the ultrasonic, but I have water in my ultrasonic, and I always cover my beakers with a glove, and that keeps the fumes from coming into my face. And so you'll put that in for 3 minutes, and you can use a dirty bath for that. In fact, like I said, I recycle my alcohol. So what I do is I have my older alcohol from yesterday, and it all settled now, and I can still keep using that for my dirty bath. But when it gets too much, then I dump it into this one. Okay, so after I've used it several times or several days, then I'll use it in my Tupperware container. So I just keep going through with my alcohol. Now with your teeth, you're going to, I just like to hold it up at an angle here and just go ahead and you're just gonna make 3 rows. 1, 2, 3, if you have a full plate. If not, you can just pop them out where they are quickly. Okay, and so now I have both of my plates. Now by the time, I'm gonna show you what that looks like. So you can just pull these off. Okay, and all I did was pull off those screws, and you can use your fingernail. If you don't let it sit overnight, it's quite easy to remove all the residual. So it's the same here. I just pull off that extra. Okay, and rub those off, and I put them in their own bath. Now, if I have smaller parts, then I want to use less alcohol, so I use a much smaller beaker. If I have like cast parts, small full cast or pressables, then I use an even smaller beaker because I don't want to waste alcohol. Okay, so I put it in for 3 minutes in my dirty bath. After those 3 minutes, I put it in 2 minutes in an absolutely clean bath. And I'm going to show you some things that if you use a dirty bath the second time, I'm going to show you what happens. Or if you use too high of a percentage of IPA, I'm going to show you a couple examples. Now, while those are in that 3 minutes, I can easily get my 2 trays clean. So I put them in to my Tupperware, and I'm going to finish punching those extra. And this is really important that you get that extra off of there, because if you don't, it could come down and then it'll just start pressing against your membrane, and you might cause weak spots. So always make sure, I'm going to go ahead and use my paintbrush, always make sure that you have a nice smooth surface with your glove after you punch. And then you can just use this and take that off. So what you're going to do is you're going to rub your glove across it and make sure you feel nothing. And if you don't feel anything, then perfect. And here is what I like rigged. I just put my trays here between paper towels, and then they're ready and dry by the time my print is done in 20 minutes. So I'm going to do the same thing. And by the way, we're working on prototypes for larger punch tools for you. So it can be just 4 punches to punch the whole plate. We're just trying out a few different sizes and things like that. So you won't have to use that smaller punch tool anymore, okay? So again, just use your brush. And by the time you're done with that, your ultrasonic will be done. Okay, and so my tray is done here. Okay, so when your parts are done and they're done in the ultrasonic and you've got your 3-minute and your 2-minute bath, you're gonna take them out. And here's what I do. Obviously these aren't done because I didn't run them. But what you're gonna do is you're going to set them up to dry. Use your air hose, this is perfectly fine. I'm in my home office, so I don't have an air hose. But you'll use your air hose. Now you never want to bake your parts in the oven when they're moist, okay? So you wanna make sure that all of that IPA is evaporated prior. What I like to do is I set all of my parts up like this. So this way the alcohol comes down and it drains out. It makes it dry quicker instead of pooling in there and just kind of waiting, okay? So if you don't, yes?
Oh, quick question. I think that might be good right here. Someone was wondering if the resin can be light cured in the cleaning bath to make it last longer.
Wait, so resin can be light cured
Yes.
in the cleaning bath?
Mm-hmm.
So you mean like,
word it if that doesn't make sense.
yeah, because, yeah, I don't know. So I guess maybe you would want to cure it out of there or something. So this way you could reuse the alcohol. Is that right? Or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. I'll have them, if whoever asked that, just if you could reword it for me, that'd be great. Then I'll ask when I get it. Thanks.
So if you were to use a dirty bath for your second bath, or you used 99% alcohol, something that was too high that we don't recommend, we always use 91%, you will get, and let's see if you can see it, you will get white residue. Okay, so this is what happens when you use your dirty bath and or 99% IPA. So you want to stick with those parameters of using a 91%. And if you only can get 99 or 100, then make sure that you just water it down with the 10%. Now, if you are going to put milled teeth in to your base, then you go ahead and cure your base now. If you're going to use printed teeth and a printed base, then you're going to assemble those after you clean them. You're going to assemble them, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now with resin. So you're going to use freshly mixed resin, and I'm going to use the same color, Denture 3D Plus Opaque Pink, and I'm just going to stir this up. And I just use this little makeup container, and I put it in a little dark drawer. Some people will use a little medicine injector or something like that to make it go quicker. I'm just going to use this brush, and I just use a watercolor brush. I didn't want to waste a ceramics brush or a glazed brush. So, and by the way, if you see that you have, and you go to put your denture teeth together, or your teeth and your base together, you want to make sure you don't have any extra support material, because you want to make sure you don't mess up the vertical dimensions. So if you do, and you see something, I use this little pair of snips. It's like a very fine pair. You can even use a pair of nail clippers, or you can take it to a bench and grind them off. But I find it's just as easy to just snip them off, and it leaves no scarring, and it pops right off, okay? So what you're gonna do is you can apply a liberal amount. You don't need to be too careful here, and I'll just show you the areas that you do wanna be careful. You can just wipe off anything that drains off in excess, and some people just like dump it in. So if you're printing your teeth and printing your base, then you're going to not cure them yet, not until you do this part. Okay, so you're gonna put resin in there, freshly mixed resin, and then you're gonna fill in all the little cracks, maybe that the gaps, because you don't want it to build up any type of tartar or any type of polish gets stuck in there or anything like that. So just make sure it is completely sealed. And then you can either use a cleaner brush or a napkin, and just make sure that there's no dripping. And you can also, if you wanted to use a glaze or something like that, you can still use your cure aggregate for that, by the way. I would cure it first and then go ahead and apply your glaze and your characterization. Okay, so now we have that, and I'm going to go ahead and do the other one as well. Now at this point, when I took out my prints from the printer, I would have started preheating my oven. I actually prefer a preheated oven. I feel like it impacts the strength. And we did have our studies done that all our advertised properties are from a 30-minute bake, but I noticed that it just felt like a little bit more substantial if we preheat that oven. Okay, so I just fill in those cracks, or the gaps, I should say. And you can even like give it a little tap for a good seal. And you don't have to do any preparation or anything. This is right out of the alcohol. I just let it dry and then I fill that in. Now you just want to make sure that you don't get it, that you wipe it off around the borders. So this way you don't add any. And also I want to make sure that when I'm adding to fill in those gaps that I'm not getting in my inner proximals. I want it to have that nice clean separation. Okay, so now we're going to put it in our oven for 30 minutes. And just like a cooking show, I've got a couple that I've already done this morning that I'll show you. Now, a little tip is if you already own this oven, if you hold the P, it'll reset the numbers. And if you hold it again, it'll go up in 10-minute increments. So you don't have to use these arrows. I always have this sheet, and you can print this out online. And I have our stirring and mixing chart so I can like quickly look, or the technicians can, and we know that we've always got the right curing time and mixing times. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start that. And I will show you what these look like. So when they come out, they are going to have just a little bit of an oily residue on them. So take it to the steam cleaner and steam them off, and then go ahead and polish. So you can see all of that. It's a perfect seal, and it'll polish super nice. Just go steam it and then use your pumice and rouge. And I'm going to show you some images of that happening.
Adrienne?
Any questions? Yep.
Oh, good timing. Can you do mechanical hole retention on the printed teeth to have more retention?
You can, but when they come out of the printer, they're only 80% cured. So if you post-cure them together with resin, you're actually creating a bond that you're not going to break. But you could, if you wanted to. Everybody has a different style, but those teeth aren't coming apart.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then another little trick is, by the way, with your mixer, if you have it all on zeros and you push start, it'll mix infinity. So you don't have to keep going up to 999 and then starting it over again. So 000 is infinity mode. So I'm going to take you back to my desktop now, and we're going to finish this with a little review and a couple of other methods that you can use for characterization and the shading and price per part. So one moment here. I swear my next couple are going to be way better because I'm going to be used to this GoToWebinar app.
The video quality is good.
Good.
So, yeah, everything, it's been great so far.
Okay, can you see my screen, my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Great. You can now, or is it paused?
No, it looks good. It's not full screen yet, but you
Okay.
can see it.
Okay. There's some sort of difference when you're presenting on GoTo and using a PowerPoint at the same time. I'll have to switch, I think, to a different app at some point. Okay, so we have 3 shades of Tryon, and you can see that they vary. And something that I like to do is before, when I was the tech, I would put a little bit of pink around the gingiva areas. So this way it would give it a more lifelike appearance and more like a wax Tryon. So just that same wax that you use to make your Tryon. And it'll take you about 45 minutes to build something like this in a vertical dimension or a vertical orientation. And it'll cost you about $3.50 per arch. And this is some of the interesting things. These are real cases, and these are, so obviously he had more time to do a lot of composite work on it, but it's gorgeous work. You can use just your normal composite kit that you like. There's 5 shades of Denture 3D Plus. Opaque pink is one of the more popular ones. It's a little bit less orange than, oh, can you see my PowerPoint or my camera? Only my face.
We can see both. It's fine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I can't, so there we
No,
go.
you're good. Yeah.
Okay. So opaque pink is just a little bit less orange than your Lucitone. It seems to be a favorite here, and light pink as well. So it kind of depends on how you're going to do your design. So if you're going to bring the necks of the teeth down and you want to see more of them, you can use a more translucent look. Okay, so it looks like you're going to have, like what we just did was about a 40-minute print. Okay, and it could be up to 60 if you're going to put them almost vertical. You're looking at about $6 to $8 per arch. There's a serious conflict between GoTo and PowerPoint.
No problem. Somebody just asked if you can do partial dentures.
We're working on some of that testing, but at this point, it is not approved for that. I don't feel, in my opinion, that it has the right flexibility and memory. And this is it's opaque pink and bleach in the mouth. We have 6 shades of microfilled hybrid, and it's approved for permanent denture use, long-term temporaries, and permanent crown and bridge, which I would say more or less long-term crown and bridge. It's more about like PMMA. You're looking at 45 to 60 cents per unit, and a full plate is 15 to 40 minutes. So if you're going to do chairside temps or a rush denture case, you can get that done pretty quickly. Like the case that you saw me do was 22 minutes.
Really quick, I'm sorry to interrupt you again. Can you clarify or verify what you think the T10, T11, T12 relate to in the conventional like A1, A2?
Sure. So you're looking at, let's go back a couple of shades here. In fact, I will give this to you guys to use as a reference guide. And I know this picture, I'll make sure it's larger for you guys when I release this on a PDF. Okay, but you're looking at bleach, A1, A2, and then A3, 5, A4, something like that. I would say more or less more yellow as in a B shade.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so also, we don't need to go back through this, but this is just a review on how I showed you how to nest, and I would like you to have it for your own reference. So if you would like a copy of this presentation, Holly will give it to you. Here's how to add a support bar in your current software, and when you upgrade, you'll get the support bar function that I showed you. And by the way, it's a free upgrade. If you don't have the printer, we don't charge for any upgrades. This is an example, what I was telling you about when we were nesting is that you don't need to combine the parts unless they're overlapping. And this would be on the right-hand side, a case of overlapping, where you would say yes. This way, when the supports are being generated for something that's over the other thing, the supports won't just go through one part to reach the other. Very convenient. And same with this one. So you can see that this is where you would overlap your, or you would combine your supports. Okay, and we went over this as well, but this is just a quick reference. So 3 minutes and 2 minutes, dry with your air, and then place in the cure oven. Okay, and then here's also for your reference. Now, when you get your denture out and you're gonna steam it off, you can use wet pumice to smooth. You can use rouge, and there's a special treat that they use in Europe that really puts a nice shine on here, and it's called KMG liquid. And so I'm gonna leave this link here on this PDF for you guys so you can go and check this out, but this is beautiful. Puts a beautiful high shine on it. You can also use your composites for characterization or glaze, and this is a gorgeous work by Orla. And then monoblock characterization as well. So a lot of people like to do their monoblocks or implant retained. And again, great characterization that you can do if you're used to doing that. And here is one without characterization in the mouth. Okay, this is just polished. And again, this is also polished. So Eric Kukuchka, the denturist in Canada, worked with me on our materials as well, so we could get some of those. So you might recognize that smile from his presentations with his Ivoclar materials. He used our materials this time. And same with this patient. So this is opaque pink and bleach. And here's for your reference, the properties. The Rapid Simplified is our standard denture material. It's heat curing resin. So, and then in comparison to the Denture 3D Plus, which is the new printing resin that Vertex has. So that's Nextdent. And the middle is Vertex original denture material. So you can see it has a great characteristic and strength and less shrinkage over time. And there's some interesting things that I'm not advising you guys to do, but it is really fun, and they are being validated in clinical trials, but some custom healing caps with the denture material. And as you can see, a few months later, the tissue forms just beautifully around that custom healing abutment. And also over triloir bars. This is an approved workflow. So this one is not under clinical trials right now. It's already approved. And then you can use microfilled hybrid as well, which Dr. Hartman is a huge advocate of. You can also see that the tissue acceptance around the material is just really nice after 2 weeks. And also for your immediate. So it's a very wide range of indications that you can use this material for. Shell temps, chairside picking it up with a palatal seating jig. So if you guys want to learn more, we have a lot of classes online and you have free access to them. Just go to the 3D Systems Academy. If you Google Nextdent 5100 user guide, you can see more. And I'm going to go over a lot more indications on Monday and throughout the week. So today was just a denture overview. We do have some new cool features coming up. So if you're a large lab and you want to increase your capacity, but you don't want to add more machines, we're getting ready to, we've already finished our stacking for orthodontic models, and we're working on now our denture stacking. And you can see that just a beautiful support structure, peels right off, no residual. Our goal is to actually use less material in something like this, but increase the accuracy and the reliability, as you know. Okay, now just for your information, if you do decide to do something, and this, sorry about this slide's a little bit out of order, but for your microfilled hybrid, if you're going to use it for shell temps or any kind of temporary, it's cohesive, so it can be bond or cemented. And you can just use any composite polishing kit to make adjustments, or to on the denture base material as well, and just some diamond polish paste, and that'll polish it up really nicely. Also a little bit of optic glaze perhaps as well. So there's 24 more materials. Not going to go over them today, but we'll go over some of them on Monday, show you some real cases, and probably do some model printing or something like that, I would say. So this is the integrated solution. Thank you today. Thank you for joining me. Just the recap, and I want you to look at this all on your own time and learn more about it on Monday. I'm going to go over what makes this printer reliable, the validated materials that we offer, what kind of training and support you're looking at, show some more in-depth on the nesting software. Also the no calibration thing. I'm going to touch on all of these topics on Monday. So if you're interested in learning more, I hope you can join me. I thank you for joining me today, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and thank you, aesthetic professionals and Holly, for having me. And I'll open the floor for questions if you guys have anything.
Thanks
And I'll
so
give
much.
you back.
We do have a couple questions. Somebody's wondering if you have a timeline on partials.
I would say it's going to be a while. I don't have a timeline right now. We're doing a lot of testing with new materials, and definitely we'll start giving sneak previews when we get a little bit closer to that solution.
Okay. And then do you have a shade guide for the acrylic base for the patient's gums?
Yes, so I have a card right now. We're actually getting ready to make shade tabs for everyone, like we have for the microfilled hybrid. So I can give a card for that right now, and then later you can actually get a physical shade guide.
Okay, perfect. And then what kind of lifetime do these types of dentures have?
They're permanent. They're stronger than standard dentures.
Okay. Awesome. And, oh, I missed this one. I think it must have been when you were going over that implant. They were wondering if there was a gingival margin after polishing. Is that, I'm not, just kind of out of context.
Are you
so.
saying, like, is it removing too much when you're polishing so you lose your gingival margin?
Yeah, that might be what he was asking.
Okay. I guess it could be a two-tier question. So if it's an implant based, then you're going to nest it in a different way, and you're probably not going to need to polish it much, but you're going to do a 3/10 margin line. So you have a little bit of room to polish just like you do Emax. So that's kind of a two-tier answer because I'm not sure exactly where the question was directed toward. But you don't remove much while polishing. The surface is beautiful when it comes out of the printer. There's like no pump lines or anything. So you won't have much polishing to do.
Okay, great. And then how long would you say if you're doing a full upper, how long would it take?
To print or for the whole thing?
Probably the whole thing, like designing and then printing.
Well, it depends on the design, but as far as printing goes, it would take maybe about 20 to 25 minutes to print it, and then 30 minutes in the oven. So you're looking at least an hour of just time where you're waiting on that part and whatever else you're going to do to characterize. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that's what we were looking for. That was it. Somebody was wondering about the link again with the video, so I'm going to hand it back over to you really quick, so you can show that link. If you don't mind.
All right, sure.
But thanks again for doing this, Adrian. We really,
Sure.
really appreciate it. It was really informative. And like I had mentioned before, we'll be sending out an email to you with the link to this webinar. And if you need CE credits or if you want any of the other videos that we've done or the webinars that we've done, just email back and we'll get that over to you.
Yeah, and I'll have this available as well. So just email Holly and she can give you this whole presentation on the PDF for your reference. So thanks for joining. Thanks for having me, Holly.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.